Okay. Okay. Well, hello everyone. Whoever joins in live or after, you're welcome to our channel and to um, take a look to what we broadcast in our channel. It's a bilingual channel in Spanish and English. I mostly share a lot of video vlogs in Spanish, but I do also in English. And today I'm going to talk to you about the history of the New Age movement and all the bad press it's received. I've been involved with it for a very, very long time. Um, but first of all, I would like to sort of bring up how a movement is born. And normally, every movement is born without people knowing or having or putting a name to it. It just happens. And in the New Age world, um, the in the music business, in the music area at least, it is believed that the first album for the New Age concept was an album by Tony Scott called Music for Zen Meditations and Other Joys, which was published in 1964, which were improvised sessions with two Japanese musicians, Shinichi Yuichi, who played the koto, and Hosan Yamamoto, who played shakuhachi. And obviously, when they did this sort of experiment, they never thought they were part of, or they were going to be part of a New Age concept. This is what happened, at least in the music business. That this is more or less how it happened. But what is important to understand is the concept behind, because I believe, that's my personal belief, that we are beings connected to everything in the universe, to the energy, whether we are conscious of it or not. We are connected to the energy in the world. And we react to this energy through through a creative process of thinking and manifestation. This process of creative thinking that brings new things to the world, like for instance, when Einstein brought the E equals mc squared, and when quantum physics was being born, David Bohm and all the other personalities that were involved um, in the new physics. They, though, evolution sort of comes gradually in a major social process, but we respond to the energy, and those who have the capacity, creative capacity to connect to the new energy are able to create something new, to create new ideas, new science advancements, new whatever. And when this started happening, like the idea of the New Age movement, which was actually, the term was born in California in the 70s. But before that, there were a lot of musicians who were doing their own instrumental music, whether it was electronic music like Jean-Michel Jarre or Vangelis or Kitaro, or things like very calm music like music for Zen meditation and other joys. And it simply means a process of coming to a new way of living. New Age was related, the term New Age is related to the passing from the Piscean age to the Aquarian age. But what happened in the United States, where it was born? There was a really bad press, a really, really uh, down downgrading press for this new paradigm. And obviously, the new paradigms are always going to come with rejection, with bad press and everything, because people who are bringing the new are really challenged and torn apart by those who want to stay stuck in the old ways. And I even remember reading an article in Time magazine, very, in a very bad way, um, where they were calling the New Age movement a movement for the yuppies, which were the hippies of the 60s that now were living comfortable in their homes with a lot of money. And it's like, you know, why do you have to make a bad press of something, like, mocking the spirits of it? And it was really sad to see how the concept of New Age was destroyed in the US mainly. But what's behind? We need to see what's behind all the things that we started manifesting unconsciously or consciously when the energies started hitting. What can we see? Just taking a look back and see how it evolved. Okay, in music, the coming together of East and West, okay? Japanese musicians with Tony Scott, who is British, they came together and created music for Zen meditation and other joys. They just reacted to the energy. It was the moment to do this, and they connected. Never before, actually, we have seen how musicians from different uh, parts of the world, extremely opposite parts of the world, like East and West, would come together. But that's not the only thing that started happening in the 20th century. We, as a, probably as a result of all that happened in the late 19th century with Madame Blavatsky and all the movement of the Theosophical Society, and all the birth of a lot of spirituality in Europe, like through Ouspensky and Gurdjieff and so many others. But one thing that started happening was that the Eastern gurus, philosophers, and teachers came to the West. This also happened in this time period. Again, East meets West, and we are going to help each other and connect and share our worlds. And, you know, this is what's happening in the New Age movement. It's bringing the opposites to balance. Bring the opposites to balance. Meeting the opposites and flowing together. So spiritual teachers like Paramahansa Yogananda, like Osho, with all that happens back in that place, you can see the Wild Wild Country documentary in Netflix, which is really amazing to know what happened. But the good and the bad, the ugly, the nice, all came. So Krishnamurti came to the West. Amazing teachers, amazing people came to the West to teach. Europe, mainly, Europe and North America, United States. And this is where the movement was being moved. The New Age movement meant bringing things together. And there was an amazing book by Marilyn Ferguson. She already passed away in 2008. She wrote a book. There was a sequel for the book of the Aquarian Conspiracy. She wrote it in 1980. And in 2005, she wrote another book about the sequel for the Aquarian Age. And that is a really amazing book that I suggest you read it, or you take a look at it, or find information about it, because it is a really thick book, and it has amazing concepts about the conspiracy. What she meant by conspiracy was not like what we believe now and know about the conspiracy theories right now. Conspiracy meant by breathing together. The conspirators were breathers, uh, people who breathed, who sat and breathed together new concepts, new behaviors. It was like a transpersonal renaissance, like a transpersonal revolution. It was coming. What I believe the New Age movement was actually was like a spiritual renaissance, a spiritual rebirth in the 20th century, after the War of Korea, after the war in Vietnam, after the Second World War, after the First World War. There was a need for reconnecting with essence. And the main message of the 60s, the hippie movement, was peace and love. Let's put aside all the drug stuff and all the crazy things that happened, but the message was peace and love. Peace and love, the basis for this new age. Peace and love. They were not totally out of sync with the concept. Remember the Broadway show Hair, where we heard the fifth dimension with um, the Aquarius, the song. And many people believe that when the moon is in the seventh house, when the moon is in the seventh house and Jupiter lies with Mars, and so they believe that when that happened, that was the time for peace to come. But the moon is in the seventh house quite often, and being Jupiter and Mars are also in a certain, you know, person. Mars is a personal planet, and therefore it just moves a little faster than the slow-moving planets, which are further away from our system, like Uranus and Pluto and Saturn, even Jupiter. But Jupiter doesn't, it's not as low as the others, Neptune. And so it all was coming in one way or the other. You know, it was just manifesting through different situations and different perspectives. But one thing, love and peace, coming together, becoming one whole planet, one whole world, east and west, north and south, peace and love. And that was actually, that's the basis of the New Age movement, a very silent movement that didn't want any, like, very soulful movement, because the soul is very quiet. And even all the bad press and all the pejorative things that it received, people still inside were connecting through music. For instance, I am very connected to music because my radio show was called New Age when I brought it to Ecuador after my studies. And I'm going to share some of that because I've been so involved with it. And when I brought it to Ecuador, there was not the differences that there were in the United States, because, oh, this is the yuppie movement. It's just music for yuppies. It's not nothing more than that. But when I brought it to Ecuador, it was music for anybody. It didn't matter social status. It didn't matter anything. It just was music for the heart. Anyway, so what was happening back in the 70s, there were a lot of groups that were creating their own instrumental music. Like, for instance, Mannheim Steamroller with Chip Davis and his American Gramophone. They were creating amazing music back in the 70s, and they called it baroque rock. Stephen Halpern was creating very mellow, meditative music, but he called it, let me see, I wrote an article about it, and it's in my book, but they called it um, adult alternative, eclectic music, contemporary instrumental music, progressive instrumental music. They had anti-frantic music. That's what Stephen Halpern called his music, anti-frantic music. And so nobody wanted to be labeled as New Age because of all the bad press that it had received. But it was natural that it was going to kind of, in a way, fall into a New Age idea. Now, what was interesting, and I don't think that William Ackerman, when he created the Windham Hill label, it was New Age music, or when the Narada musical house was created, or private music, or musical west, or any of the new age musical houses. They were not thinking, oh, I'm just going to do instrumental music because that's new age. They naturally started, like Narada had amazing albums of Celtic music, Andean music. They brought Native American music. They had Asian music. Amazing. You know, again, the concept what that was behind is coming back to union. And these houses, mainly, like I believe, mainly Narada, Celestial Harmonies as well, they were bringing all the different music, world music, together through one label. So if we just look back, we do a recapitulation of the progression of things and how they have happened. We started seeing a lot of authors like Sogyal Rinpoche, and I gotta go back to I wrote a book in Spanish with about it, and let's see, um, there were Sogyal Rinpoche, who wrote amazing books, like the Tibetan Book of Living and Dying. Obviously, Deepak Chopra, who lives in California, Carlos Castaneda and Jacobo Greenberg, who were involved with shamanic practices and understanding that. We have like Manly P. Hall, who had an amazing book that's called The Secret Teachings of All Ages. It's very amazing and profound. And even he said that this is what he said. I have to translate it because it's in Spanish, but we are arriving to the end of 20th century, and the amazing materialistic progress that we have so revered for so long is very close to bankruptcy. We cannot continue believing that we are born in this world to accumulate richness, and we are to be abandoned to the mortal pleasures. We see the dangers, and we realize that we have been exploited for centuries. We were told that the 20th century was the most progressive the world has ever known, but unluckily, that progressiveness has been directed to self destruction. Living in a world without realizing the meaning of the world is like walking in a great uh, bookstore and a great library without touching the books. The youth is not invited to search for the hidden truths, dynamics, and the eternal words. They are enslaved in forms. Encerrados dentro de las formas. They are enslaved within the forms and the behaviors of the living beings. And obviously, I was in the literature, there came authors like Edgar Cayce, Alice Bailey, who channeled apparently the teachings of Dwal Kul, and she was very fond of Helen Blavatsky. Jack Cornfield, who is a Buddhist practitioner. Stanislav Grof, who brought the Tao, some books about the Taoism and bringing physics and Taoism into perspective. Brian Weiss with all the books about reincarnation and hypnosis. We have Lin Yutang and Wen Dyer and Meister Eckhart and Thich Nhat Hanh. So many amazing Choyan Trungpa. See, the Eastern authors and philosophers and gurus gave a lot to the West, because obviously the idea of turning into this new age was to bring into balance matter and spirit. And the Western society is totally materialistic. So it's not that the West first went to the East. it is the East who came to the West. Eventually, we will see McDonald's in Japan and in the Asian countries, but not to say that that's the best that the West can offer to the East, but we were trying to merge and to learn from each other. So the East came to the West to help us reconnect with our essential self. There is scientist and a priest called Teilhard de Chardin, who in Marilyn Ferguson, The Aquarian Conspiracy, she's got a quote that I want to read to you. And it says, in every age, man has proclaimed himself at a turning point in history. And to a certain extent, as he is advancing on a rising spiral, he has not been wrong. But there are moments when this impression of transformation becomes accentuated and it is particularly justified. Teilhard de Chardin prophesied the phenomenon central to the Aquarian conspiracy by Marilyn Ferguson, a conspiracy of men and women whose new perspective would trigger a critical contagion of change. Throughout history, virtually all efforts to remake society began by altering its outward form and organization. And we've been seeing this for a long time, which again, we are responding to the energy, and there are those who connect stronger to that energy and are able to create a way, to create the ideas, to create the ways, to create the forms that bring into matter the new possibilities. With all the pandemic, at least I see in my country, there's already people coming together as community to help each other. There are processes to create alternative currencies, because we know that we do not have to compete anymore. We have to cooperate. And one of the things that has been totally like marketed in the New Age world is the concept of abundance, right? Abundance. We all want abundance in every possible way. But when I did a workshop called Dragon Dreaming with John Croft, who created this, and his Brazilian teacher, he shared with us something that was very, very important to see how we can go from one extreme to another. And I think abundance is out of balance. Let me explain why. The concept of abundance, it is connected to the idea of lack, that we don't have enough. And therefore we want more and more and more, and we want abundance in our lives all the time. And, you know, we even I bought the idea, but though I didn't really ever knew how to create that abundance that it was mentioned in the New Age circle, it was there, you know, I was aware of it. And when I did this workshop called Dragon Dreaming, amazing, 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 he said to us, okay, we have limited natural resources. Natural resources are finite. They are not infinite. Therefore, we should think in terms of sufficiency and not in terms of abundance. And it then totally made sense to me. It's about the middle way. It's about the middle way, which is coming east and west together. Spirit and matter meet in as one, because when we are in the center, there's no yin and yang. There's the center where both are one. And when he said sufficiency, it came to me and it dawned to me like, of course, it's about that. We don't need to be out of balance with the idea and the concepts of abundance for everybody, because there's not enough natural resources for the abundance that everybody desires. So when we think in terms of sufficiency, our mental projection and mental ideas come also into balance and come into community, because abundance is about me, 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 me. Sufficiency is about I have enough and others have enough. And when I have enough, there's going to be enough for others. And I loved that idea, and I love that concept, and I understood it completely. And obviously, one has to know what sufficiency is for oneself by understanding lack and abundance. Lack and abundance are the opposites. Sufficiency is the center. So then, just by doing this recapitulation, I understood even better, that the New Age movement is about bringing this balance. I recently did a radio show in Spanish about the patriarchal 2000 years of patriarchy and the monotheistic religions, and how we were conditioned for this period of time, because patriarchy has existed before as well as matriarchy. I'm just talking about these 2000 years of the common era, the era we share, the history we are most connected to. And it's been totally on one side of the scale: patriarchy, male dominance, power, war, self centeredness, zero power to the feminine, zero openness to vulnerability and spirituality. Uh, this coming from within. The churches have the power, and to keep the power, they have to have their followers believing that the church is the medium to connect with a God that is somewhere in heavens, not within. And when the New Age movement comes, and that's why many the Christian churches, especially, at least in my country and mostly in the Western world, were saying that the New Age was satanistic, that it was a devil movement, because they cannot handle the idea of losing their followers for people who start to look inside for their own divinity in connection to God. So that was another of the bad presses that happened, and how it was connected to evil sources, which is untrue. It's just changing paradigms are going to create hostility in those who are completely attached and cling to the old ways that are going to die because they are obsolete by now. The more we resonate with the ways of the age of Aquarius, the energy, basically, not the ways, because we haven't created the ways yet. We are just resonating with the energy. The more we resonate with that energy and connect to the energy, the more we are able to sort of bring to balance. It is about balance. We might not see manifested in our lifetime, but we are going to an age of balance, hopefully, like Satya Yuga, as the Hindus would say, or the Golden Age, as the Greek would say, or the 2000 years of peace that they mention in the Bible. I don't know exactly. Well, all of them are valid, so you can just choose whichever, and believe that it is time for us to reach balance. If you just take a look and see the history of the divine feminine, and I'm not going to talk about females and males, because it's not about a power struggle of males versus females. It's masculine energy and feminine energy, divine masculine, divine feminine. Okay, so we have seen the masculine energy manifesting mostly not through the divine sacredness of its power, but through the ego lower side of its power. And so the feminine energy and all that it embraces, it's a yin energy, has been completely stepped on for centuries. And since the 19th and the 20th century, a lot of movements started happening. Women were able to vote somewhere in the 20th century in different time periods for different countries. And they were able to go to universities and study and prepare. And now we see presidents, female presidents. And there was a very amazing article in InfoBuy about who has managed better the coronavirus crisis in the world. And the countries that have better resolved this situation are the countries governed by females, like Merkel in Germany, and all the Scandinavian and Icelandic presidents, and the president of Taiwan, who's also a female. They have better managed it because they are basing their management on truth, compassion, and empathy. And they have had a greater success than the male governed countries that we see that they are still completely, most of them, not all of them, but they have not managed as well as the females in charge of managing the pandemic, which is interesting. Like, this is not to say male is better than female. We do things differently, and we need to bring this to balance. How we bring this to balance? Well, females who have a strong yin, a very strong feminine energy, can connect to their masculine, active, assertive energy. Males who are completely connected to the yang, active, assertive energy, like male, macho man, they need to awaken their feminine, vulnerable, intuitive, spiritual sides. When we, each one of us, are able to bring into some sort of balance, because we're always going to have some certain tendencies in our personalities, which is our mask to the world, we're going to be stronger in one of the sides. But if we are able to open up to the other side and bring it somehow into balance, just imagine when a great mass of people, the critical mass, reaches that level of balance between their feminine and masculine energies. Just imagine what the world will be like. We've been in one side of the scale, and we've seen all these injustices and these differences, the rich and the poor, all the injustices that we have seen in this world. But bringing the energies into balance for the critical mass will bring those thoughts and ideas into the material world from that place of balance. Therefore, we will live more harmoniously, definitely. So we are the seeds of the new age. The new kids in the block are coming with new chips. Hopefully, to this world, they will come with the new genetic codes from the process that we have done in our evolution. And they will be able to pick up on the energy that will unfold as they grow to bring a new world, a world of balance. So you see, the New Age concept and movement is actually a very silent place where the meeting of the divided worlds was coming into union, coming into the center. Spirit and matter, east and west, north and south. We are still working through it, but we are one world, and we are recognizing that we are living in one world. And with this pandemic, it is shown that we are all one, that it is affecting the whole planet, that this situation whether we live through it or we die, is bringing us great teachings about our next step in the creation of a new world. So needed. We might not know how to create a new world. It will unfold as we do our work of creating this balance. We don't have to think on creating a new world as much as bringing this balance, and the world will unfold by itself as a resonance, as a result of the resonance of the new energies. I hope this is clear. Obviously, I'm sure there are many ways to look at it. I'm just, hi, Jasmine. Okay, I did it in English because of you. and so, okay, I hope this was clear. I hope this gives you more things to consider. But just look at how history has unfolded and what it's telling us. The New Age movement is the movement that is bringing us from the Piscean age to the Aquarian age and all that it embraces. And that paradigm has been happening already for a very long time already, but we are able to just see it now. Okay, the one last thing. Personal changes can happen according to the investment of time people give themselves to the discipline of connecting, awakening, and awakening. Social changes, since they depend on a larger scale of resonance, take a lot longer. So that's why I imagine we won't see all the changes we want to see during our lifetimes, but we are the seeds. We need to work on bringing our balance. What I've done, in my experience of coming into balance, which is coming to the center, there is no yin and yang anymore. There is no polarities. In the center, there is balance. There is oneness. Oneness is in the center. Okay, the different sides of the scale are energy ridden by one type of energy, one side of the scale or the other. Here we are in balance. There is no yin or yang, there is just oneness. And that is what we need to awaken to. I know that we hold that ideas of oneness in our minds. I know many people say, yeah, we're all one, but one thing is to say it, another is to experience it. We need to work on ourselves to get to the point of really realizing, connecting, and becoming one. Okay, this is it. I hope this was helpful, and please keep on doing the work. We need more and more people coming into that balance, to the oneness in oneself, so we can manifest the oneness in the world. Have a great day, and until my next English time video blog or whatever with you. Okay, bye-bye. And please, if this works for you and this is clear, share it with other people, subscribe to our channel, follow us in our Facebook, which is awakening.goypaz, awakening.goypaz, and that's connected to our blog, which is also awakening.goypaz.com. And well, that's it. Thank you so much for your time, and until the next one. Bye-bye.